Multiple threats of severe weather are about to impact the United States, bringing a potential for damaging winds, large hail, and maybe even some strong tornadoes. So I'm going to be talking about what you need to know about this severe weather potential. So let's get right into the forecast. It is Saturday, June 6th, 2026, and we have like 3 areas to watch for potential severe weather today. One is out there in parts of the northeast, then another one is down there in parts of the southern plains, then there's also one in the northern plains today. So we got a lot of severe weather possible today, including a potential for a couple tornadoes, some damaging winds, and even some hail. The marginal risk out here going from parts of northern Missouri all the way up into New Hampshire, where we could be seeing some isolated severe weather today. Then we do have a level 2 out of 5 slight risk out here, going from parts of Indiana out into parts of southern Vermont. So we're watching that slight risk as well. Main concerns out here for parts of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast will be an isolated tornado. We can't rule out an isolated tornado out here. If you're in parts of eastern Ohio or western Pennsylvania, an isolated brief spin-up tornado cannot be ruled out. But the main concerns today will be some damaging winds. There's actually a 30% wind risk outlined by the Storm Prediction Center out here in parts of southern New York all the way back into parts of eastern Ohio. We could be seeing a pretty widespread damaging wind event, but we just don't know how much instability is going to really organize those storms, so we don't know how organized it will be. But I wouldn't rule out maybe an upgrade to an enhanced risk if the damaging wind threat gets worse. But there will be a cluster of storms push through these areas, so definitely make sure you're having a way to get alerts if you're out in these areas and know where to take shelter if needed. So we're also going to be having a potential for some hail today. There's a 15% hail risk out here in parts of western Pennsylvania and parts of eastern Ohio towards central Ohio. We can't rule out some hail out there. So definitely make sure to park your car in a garage so that doesn't get damaged by hail. We also got a marginal risk down here in parts of the southern plains. We're not looking at anything too crazy down there. Mainly just a chance for some damaging winds and maybe some hail. So definitely be aware down there. Then our other threat that we're watching is actually up here in parts of western North Dakota, eastern Montana, and parts of northeastern Wyoming. Even up there in parts of Canada like Saskatchewan, you guys could be seeing a threat for some strong tornadoes over the next few days as well. So you definitely make sure you're staying aware even up there in parts of Canada. Mainly we're watching within these areas in parts of Canada. We could be seeing a pretty significant severe weather threat, so definitely be aware if you're up there. But even down here in parts of the United States, like most of it's going to be happening in Canada, but we're also going to have some of these severe setups in parts of the United States. Out here in parts of northern plains, we're mainly looking at chance for an isolated tornado, some damaging winds, potentially getting up to 75 or even more. But we cannot rule out an isolated tornado. Large hail is also going to be a potential, but you can see that we do have a wind conditional intensity group 1 risk out here. Definitely be sure you're staying weather aware if you're out there in parts of the northern plains today as well. Now, as we get into tomorrow on Sunday, this is Sunday's outlook for tomorrow. You can see that there is a potential for severe weather out here in parts of the mid-Atlantic. Again, we can't rule out maybe a few isolated severe storms. Then out here in parts of western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. Then there's actually another area up here in parts of the northern plains tomorrow on Sunday that we're all watching. We're looking at a chance for an isolated tornado tomorrow. We do have a chance for an isolated tornado in western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma tomorrow. There's also a chance for an isolated tornado out here in parts of northern North Dakota. But again, we're also going to have a bigger tornado threat out here in parts of Canada that we got to be watching very closely. So you guys definitely need to have a way to get alerts if you're out there in parts of Canada. But we do also have a threat for some damaging winds. You can see this area for tomorrow will have a potential for some damaging winds. And then out here in parts of the mid-Atlantic, we're also looking at chance for some damaging winds. So definitely be aware for that. You can out large to very large hail tomorrow, potentially getting up to hen egg size out there in parts of the northern plains. So definitely also be aware for that. Then out there in parts of Canada too. Then Monday is probably going to be the quietest day out of this whole severe weather threat. As you can see here, we got a marginal risk outlined, level 1 out of 5, out here in parts of northwestern Kansas, southwestern Nebraska, and parts of northeastern Colorado. You guys still need to be staying weather aware because you guys do have potential for some severe weather on Monday and everything like that. And then we are going to get even more severe weather as we get into Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday out here, you guys need to be staying prepared. If you're in the northern plains on Tuesday, we could be dealing with another severe weather threat out here. So northern plains for like the Dakotas, you guys are going to be dealing with a lot of severe weather. So definitely be aware out there on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, it should shift farther into Minnesota. Minnesota on Wednesday, definitely be aware. You guys are like, the whole state of Minnesota could be seeing severe weather on Wednesday, having a potential at least. So definitely a very big severe weather stretch coming in, and we'll get more detailed on that here soon. Switching over to the future radar for today, you can see if we push the timeline up a little bit, we're going to have some storms out here in parts of Ohio. These should just be normal rain showers, maybe a few gusty winds and some thunder out there pushing through parts of Ohio. Those line of storms should start weakening, but we're watching for a potential strong thunderstorm out here develop. We're also going to have a lot of other strong thunderstorms develop out there in parts of Pennsylvania, going back over there into parts of New York. You can see they actually turn into a pretty big cluster of storms here. This could produce some potentially widespread damaging winds, so definitely be aware for that if you're out there in parts of Pennsylvania. So what it could look like at 7 p.m. Eastern today. And then we cannot rule out some isolated tornadoes out there. Then 8 p.m. Eastern, this is what it could be looking like. And then if you're out there in parts of northern New Jersey and parts of central New Jersey, you guys could get your storm around 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. So definitely be aware for that if you're out there in parts of New Jersey. So then the storm should kind of push through, and then they'll start weakening as we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow. So definitely a pretty big severe weather threat out here today. And if we switch over to significant tornado parameter, we don't have any too crazy values out there. I mean, we definitely got some values out there in parts of eastern Ohio, but we got enough out there to support a potential for maybe an isolated tornado. I don't think we can roll out maybe a strong tornado out there if we really get one of those storms to mature and really mature in the most good environment for tornadoes. So we'll definitely watch that very closely, as there's some decent values of significant tornado parameter out there. I mean, it's pretty low, but you can see we got some decent values popping up out there, especially in parts of eastern Ohio. And then we don't have the craziest amount of instability out here, which is why we don't have an enhanced risk, and we don't know how these storms are really going to organize. If they organize well, then I do think that we could see an upgrade. So yeah, but as of right now, we don't have a crazy amount of instability out there. But yeah, there's a decent amount, getting up to 1,000 to potentially 2,000 joules per kilogram. So yeah. We don't have the craziest amount of spin out here today. The main reason why our tornado risk is not that high today is because we're having a westerly flow push through the area, and it's not going to be that favorable for spinning, rotating supercell thunderstorms. We don't have a crazy amount of winds here in SRH. Here in the northern plains, you can see we're going to have some storms start to develop and really start to get going. Look out there in parts of Canada. You guys could be having those storms up there, but we'll look at those a little bit more here soon. But you can see we're going to have some of those storms develop in parts of northeastern Montana. Those things could be producing maybe a chance for an isolated tornado. I'd say mainly damaging winds, potentially getting up to 80 miles per hour. Wouldn't be surprised if we got 80 mile per hour winds out there, so definitely be aware for that. And then significant tornado parameters, a very decent amount, but it's mainly going to be staying out there in Canada and kind of out of the United States. So there's a decent amount of significant tornado parameter. And there is some CAPE, which stands for convective available potential energy, which is storm fuel. We have a decent amount making it up there, so this is definitely going to be something that we got to be watching very closely if you're out here in parts of Canada and then the Dakotas areas. Let's go back up here into parts of Canada. You can see that we're going to have some of those storms develop out there. Supercell thunderstorms. I'm not that familiar with some of these places out here in Canada, but you can see we're going to have this supercell thunderstorm develop out here in parts of Saskatchewan. So that's going to be something that we got to be watching. Now, those things could produce maybe a chance for a tornado, maybe even a strong tornado. Then those storms should push through out there in parts of Canada. So definitely be sure you're having a way to get alerts. I don't want to rule out a strong, significant tornado today out there. Definitely make sure you're having a way to get alerts if you're in those areas. And we should see another chance for more severe weather tomorrow out there in Canada, potentially even more significant than today, where we could see a potential tornado outbreak. And then out here, we could be seeing a lot of scattered storms out here in parts of Texas, kind of these areas today. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few severe thunderstorm warnings out here, but mainly damaging winds and hail out here, so yeah. Now, let's check out the future radar for tomorrow out here. You can see if we push the future radar up some more, you can see we're going to have some more storms develop out here tomorrow. Could be more, I think Sunday could be more significant than today with severe weather out here in parts of the northern plains. So definitely be aware for that. Just how crazy these storms are looking. Could be seeing a chance for maybe some damaging winds, hail, and even tornadoes. So it looks like a pretty crazy line of storms developing out there in Canada. You guys are still also going to be getting your storms, so out there in parts of Dakotas and parts of eastern Montana, definitely be aware for severe weather over the next few days and have a way to get alerts. There's a decent amount of significant tornado parameter. Parts of Canada, we're getting into pretty high levels too, which is honestly pretty crazy. If you check out the soundings here, you can see there's a TOR sounding out there, so definitely a pretty crazy severe weather setup out there in parts of Canada. So that's why it's vital for you to make sure you're having a way to get alerts. Excessive rainfall outlook for today and stuff. We could be seeing a lot of rainfall out here today. We got a slight risk of excessive rainfall. It's the Ohio Valley region, so definitely be aware out here. Then out here in parts of the New Orleans area and Houston area in Texas, you guys do also need to be staying prepared for some excessive rainfall. Then out here in parts of the southern plains, beware for excessive rainfall today. And then in those green regions, but the slight risk regions, those yellow areas, where we're going to be watching for a big flood threat today. So definitely be aware. If you're out there in parts of the Great Lakes region and Midwest, we're going to be seeing less than an inch to potentially an inch, and then stuff like that. And then down here in parts of eastern Oklahoma, I think that's going to be a hot spot for today, where we're going to be seeing 2.5 inches, potentially up to 3 inches. Then this excessive rainfall threat should continue out there in parts of the Midwest and to parts of the plains over the next few days. So definitely be aware for flooding as well. So I just wanted to mention that. And really crazy fire weather out here in parts of the Southwest today. So definitely be aware if you're out here. We'll be seeing some pretty crazy fire weather threats. It's going to be dry and it's going to be warm. It's going to be perfect for fire weather. So definitely don't be throwing your cigarette out the window. And that should continue as we get into tomorrow as well, even out there in parts of southern Idaho. So definitely make sure you're staying weather aware out here for potential critical fire weather. So here's the GFS model. If we push this up some more, you can see we're going to have some troughs come through. This is going to be the trough out here that's going to be causing the severe weather in the northeast and mid-Atlantic parts of Ohio Valley today. But we're just going to continue to have these troughs come through. I'm really watching June 10th and June 11th and June 12th very closely for a potential significant severe weather setup in parts of the United States. So definitely got to be watching that. It looks like the rest of June is going to be very active in terms of severe weather. So definitely make sure you're staying weather aware for that. And then for the parts of the Pacific, you can see that we do have some tropical development out here. There is a tropical disturbance out here in parts of the Pacific, which is high chance of development for day 7 and day 2. And if you switch over to spaghetti models here, you can see that some of the spaghetti models show that this system could go up into parts of the United States. I don't think that's going to be the highest potential, but I do think that if you're out there in parts of Arizona, New Mexico, definitely be prepared for that possibility of maybe a tropical depression coming in those areas, leading to potential flooding. But I really don't think it's going to do anything. I think it'll just develop and probably just weaken out. That's pretty much all I got for you in today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned as I might be going live today, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.